You are listening to The Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic 1 Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or a loved one are struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, please call us at 866-535-4673. Rebroadcast this show will be every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on WVLP LP. Good afternoon, Valparaiso. This is Bill Moran on The Bill Moran Show. We'll start you out with the weather. Current conditions at Valparaiso Community Commercial Municipal Airport is 71 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is currently at 35%. Southwest winds at 13 miles an hour, gusting to 24 miles per hour. Barometer is currently sitting at 30.18 inches. Dew point is currently 42 degrees. Visibility is a very clear 10 miles. And then your forecast. Sunny with a high near 69. Southwest wind around 15 miles an hour with gusts as high as 25 miles per hour. Tonight, clear with low around 45. South-southwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 70, southwest winds 10 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. Well, we'd like to welcome a guest that you all probably know very well, Lenny Corso, who is representing the Kiwanis New Time Kiwanis Club, and he's going to talk to us about their Veterans Appreciation Dinner.
Thanks for having me on, Bill. I appreciate it very much.
We appreciate you being on. We really do. And so the Veterans Appreciation Dinner is coming up. But first I want to do is share with our folks, for those of you who are not familiar with Lenny, and I don't know why, because Lenny is next to Mayor Costas, I think. You know, he probably going to be running for mayor sometime.
I'm not into politics, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so here's a little about Lenny. Lenny Corso was born and raised in Logansport, Indiana. He is a Vietnam-era veteran and served with the U.S. Army Special Forces as a Green Beret medical specialist from 1966 to 1969. Upon receiving his honorable discharge from the military, he returned to Indiana State University to complete his bachelor's degree in health science. He then acquired the position of Director of Health Education for the Southwest Health Center of the Methodist Hospitals Consortium in Indianapolis, Indiana. After a year in that position, he was accepted into the Indiana University School of Medicine Physician's Assistants Program. Upon graduation from the PA program, he obtained his master's degree from Ball State in Physiology and Health Science. He moved to Northwest Indiana in February 1977 when he was recruited by the medical department at the Midwest Steel Division of National Steel Corporation as a physician's assistant in the field of occupational medicine. During his tenure as physician's assistant, he was responsible for providing medical care to nearly 2,000 employees. Wow.
It's a lot of employees.
Yeah, wow. That's, yeah. A lot of people to keep healthy, right?
Yes, sir.
Amazing. He also designed and developed the initial Employee Assistance Program to assist alcoholism and substance abuse with the workplace. He also initiated the first prescription exercise program for all employees in an effort to lower health care costs through healthy lifestyle changes. Boy, we can all use that.
Very much so.
Yeah. Are you referring? You're not.
No, I'm not.
Actually, I do. I put on 30 pounds over the winter. After 10 years in occupational medicine, he moved to Wyeth Pharmaceuticals Did I pronounce that correctly?
That is correct.
Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, where he became successful territory manager for Northwest and Northern Central Indiana. During his tenure, he became certified medical representative and earned many sales awards for his positive impact on complex corporate objectives. He retired in 2006, excuse me, and after nearly 20 years in pharmaceutical industry, in 2007, he was accepted as a member of the adjunct faculty at Ivy Technical College at Valparaiso, Indiana campus. He's been teaching advanced human physiology over the past 10 years to medically oriented students. He has also volunteered over 1,000 hours in 2017 assisting students with tutoring, academic advising, counseling. Furthermore, when invited by other faculty members, he provided motivational and inspirational presentations for other classes on how to overcome adversity in life. In addition, he serves as faculty liaison for the Ivy Technical Student Veterans Organization for military veterans who are returning to further their education. In 2014, he was nominated by the students and faculty for the Bi-Regional Adjunct Faculty of the Year Award for Northwest Indiana North Central Regions, which was presented to him. He has been active in many civic and community activities, serving in different capacities, which include board membership and leadership positions for the United Way, American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Lung Association, American Red Cross, YMCA, Boys and Girls Clubs of Porter County is where I first met Lenny, Portage JCs, Valparaiso Kiwanis, and the Kiwanis Foundation. In the past, he has been recognized by the Portage JCs with Distinction Service Award in 1980 and Kiwanian of the Year in 2007 for his contributions within these civic organizations. He has served as president of the HIV/AIDS Advisory Council for the Valparaiso Community Schools for 15 years, developing educational curriculum for middle school, high school students. Currently, he is an anatomy and physiology coach for the Valparaiso Science Olympiad team at Thomas Jefferson Middle School, which has earned 24 Indiana State Champions and 2 National Championships. Additionally, he founded and directed the Valparaiso Junior Basketball Program, which provided basic basketball instruction to nearly 200 participants 4 nights a week every June and July for 20 years. He was named the Volunteer of the Year by the United Way Agency in 2010 and the Porter County Boys and Girls Club 2012 for his involvement with the youth and community. He has been married for 44 years to Sandy Pollard Corso, who has been in the field of education for 30 years and is now retired. They have 2 daughters, Andrea and Erica, who are graduates of IU. Wow, I got through that.
I don't like to be bored. Thank you
Were
very
you
much.
falling asleep on me back there?
No, not at all. Thank you.
So no problem. It's just amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, your credentials speak for you, and I just know you as a person that's hyperly involved in this community, and we're all better for it. I do remember a couple of instances with Valpo Schools that I crossed paths with you. One when you were involved with the HIV AIDS education.
Yes.
And you provide a lot of materials for Valpo Schools to conduct that education. And then the CAS program,
Yes.
the anti-bullying program,
That is
which
correct.
we were both mentors at that time. And,
Yes, sir.
And so, boy, and where I first met you, actually when my girl was a wee one and we got her in the Boys and Girls Club,
Yes.
I walked into the gym and saw this gentleman schooling these little kids. These poor little kids were just being schooled all over the place. I mean, I was witnessing Lenny just dribbling around them, going behind his back, in between his legs, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen anyone at high school level do that. So, but that's where I first met Lenny, and we've known each other since then, and I've just admired his activity in the community. So let's talk about this Veteran Appreciation Dinner that you've are coordinating or what have you between, and this is a joint effort between the Rotary Club and the Kiwanians?
That is correct, Bill.
Right.
Before I get into that, I just want to thank WVLP, you and your staff, for promoting the event for us, which has been extremely helpful. And this program, it came about when Rotary came to one of our Veterans Day events. We would go to their Veterans Day events, and they came up with an idea. And I have to give Rotary credit for this. They approached us and said, for this one event, why don't we merge both of our clubs for the benefit of veterans in the Northwest Indiana area and provide one large function. And we took off, we ran with it. We had basically a brief 2-hour dinner meeting with their committee, our committee. And I said, since I'm semi-retired, I have the time to go do the graphics and so on.
You're not retired, Lenny.
Well,
I know people that have 2 or 3 jobs that are not as active as you. Well, okay, I'm sorry. I interrupted.
No, that's all right. I've heard that before. I can't stand boredom. I just got to remain active. But met with Rotary, and the representative over there is Mr. George Carberry, who's a wonderful person. He's an attorney in the area. And our 2 committees got together, and let's do one thing. First of all, let's move it to the nighttime, because both of our programs had it during the daytime and lunch. And the problem I kept hearing from people in the community is the only people that can go and take an hour and a half off for lunch are retired people or people who are let go from their company organization who will allow them to attend such a function. A lot of people whose grandfathers, fathers, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters who've been serving in the military they were unable to bring them to the luncheon function. So by moving it to the evening time, also expanding it from an hour and a half to 3 hours, it gives us the opportunity to have an excellent guest speaker, gives time for a nice conversational dinner, and actually people going around and thanking other veterans. We are going to have the Valparaiso University Band that'll be playing some great music for us, patriotic music. The program is totally first class. We're going to have the POW-MIA table. We're going to have the presentation and the presentation of the colors. You just can't find this type of program that has this many participants as our Veterans Appreciation Dinner that we are having this particular year.
Yeah, and I can't tell you enough that these folks, really, we do owe them a debt. Many of these people, just amazing heroes. And so we all appreciate what you're doing. Just a couple of questions. So you pretty much explained how this came to be. Now, your hopes for the future is to make this a larger venue.
That is correct. If we, right now, and this is for your listeners, we have sold 300, this is pre-sale, pre-sold, have sold 300 of the seats out of 400. In fact, the only tickets, for the most part, that are remaining are at the First Source Bank branches. So if anybody is wanting a ticket, I'm pretty much out from the Kiwanis side. I will be tomorrow. And Rotary only has a handful of tickets left also. So now we're basically saying if you are just now hearing about the program, go to any First Source branch bank in Valparaiso, and they will have tickets for you. And if they don't have them, that means they're sold out.
Oh, well, hurry up. And the First Source, that's right across the street from the courthouse. Is that correct?
That's one of the locations. That is correct. And then there's a First Source Bank on the north roundabout up by Strack Van Til and Kmart.
All right.
And then there's another one by the roundabout, which is northeast from Valparaiso University, and there's one on US 30.
So all those locations have tickets?
All 4 of those locations still have tickets.
Great.
I checked this morning on that.
All right, great. So if you're still interested and if you know a veteran that you would like to give a treat and reward them for their service, there's the locations for you. Again, that's going to be held at 711 Calumet Avenue. That's the Old Banquet Center.
Old Town Banquet Center, yes, sir.
Old Town Banquet Center. And music is provided by VU. Any other things that you could think of that's going on at that time?
Well, there's always good food.
Oh, yeah.
And there will be a cash bar.
Mm-hmm.
The overall program, we have our guest speaker, who is going to be Ed Soliday, who's a Vietnam veteran. And as I understand it, he was a pilot in Vietnam, and he's going to share some of his experiences. And of course, he's gone on to bigger and better things, not only as a commercial pilot, but also as a representative of our state for this area.
Right. So, so you've sold 300 tickets so far. So the idea of this is that hopefully some people out there will have a friend. Now, what about handicap accessibility and those types of things? Or
We have already made arrangements for that. The Old Town Banquet Center is handicap accessible. In fact, we have at our regular Kiwanian meetings or Kiwanis meetings or the Rotarian or Rotary meetings, there are a couple of older vets that come in via wheelchair with their guardians, and they are going to attend this banquet. One is 99 and the other one's 98.
wow.
So it's an honor to have these two World War II vets, and just talking to them privately, they've seen their share of military experience in the tough way, as I used to call it.
Right. Right. And this is open for all ages of vets. All you do is have to be a vet.
That is correct.
And so for you folks that have just rotated out of the service, this is going to be an awesome event in your favor. But again, the whole idea is someone to adopt a vet to bring them to the. So the cost of the tickets are again?
The cost for the ticket is $15. And if you have a group that wants to sit together, if you buy a full table, that's 10 seats at a table for $150, we will guarantee that table will be reserved for you and your guests. If you buy individual tickets, it's open seating, so first come, first served in that situation.
All right.
Just to let you know, I have a younger cousin that bought a table. He lives in Indianapolis. He's driving up for this event.
Wow.
And he says, I want all 10 of my tickets to donate it to veterans. He says, don't even include me on that list. He's picking up, one of the cousins in Logansport, my hometown, who's a Navy veteran, the other one's an Army veteran. They're driving up from Logansport to be at this event. We have distributed posters and information to every police department in Porter County and in LaPorte County and portions of Lake County, every fire department. As you know, both of those tend to employ veterans, and obviously they may be very interested in the program.
We'll let people see what this looks like.
Oh,
For
thank
those of
you.
you who are looking on YouTube, if you see a poster up like this is not a invitation to go to Washington, D.C. This is actually a poster for the Veterans Appreciation Dinner. So those are hanging up all over town. So we appreciate you bringing that by, Lenny. It's and then plus, as you probably saw, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, we had the ticket scrolling on, so it'll get information on there, and we have it posted on our Facebook page as well. Venue size, what are your hopes for the future? Because it sounds like you guys are going to. We should have no problem selling the rest of those tickets.
We believe we got 2 weeks to go. November 1st is our cutoff date because we have to turn in the food order with the head count. So November 1st will be the last day to purchase any tickets if they're left. What will happen is we, during our committee meetings, we have discussed kind of some long-term plans. If this works well, as it looks like it's going to, and we do it at this location over the next 3 years, there's a possibility we could expand the venue to a larger facility if necessary. We believe, and our goal personally with our committees, is that we would love to have this become the largest Veterans Appreciation event in Northwest Indiana at any time. And merging both of our clubs together for this one event has been an extremely positive move on our parts.
Right, and there are folks coming up from Indianapolis.
Yes, sir.
So any idea so far, is that the farthest?
That I know of. I think there's a couple that are coming down from Chicago. There's a couple coming across from the state line in Illinois. I don't know anything about South Bend or Fort Wayne, but we have posted this information via our social media sites, via Kiwanis website, my personal website. Again, the worst thing that can happen as I told the Rotary Club and Kiwanis Club, is to have someone let them say on November 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, if I'd have known about this, I would have come. And that's the last thing we want. We want to get that word out. If we have a sellout with the quality of the program and the organization that we have going on right now, I can assure you that we won't have to sell it very much next year.
Well, again, we're YouTube videoing this, so more than
Thank you.
please
Yes.
share this.
I certainly will.
And get the word out further. But this is an awesome program. It sounds like it's going to be a great experience for those veterans who served us so well and who we owed a great debt of gratitude. And again, this is open to all age groups of veterans, whether you're just rotating out,
Correct.
Whether you are World War II veteran, Vietnam veteran. It's meant to honor these folks who fought so hard for us.
May I add, Bill, is that the student veterans associations or organizations at Valparaiso University have been invited. The word is out to them. The student veterans organization at Purdue Northwest, IU Northwest, as well as Ivy Tech. So we're trying to get the word to those veteran liaisons who then can take the same information you have on your website and share it via email through their connections that they have in their media.
Right. Then there's veterans of the foreign war and all the
Absolutely.
folks around.
All the VFWs in Porter County and American Legions in Porter County have been contacted, just like the police and the fire departments have as well.
Great, great. So it's pretty much you have to be hiding somewhere if you don't know about this.
Well, we're hoping, and I have to thank the businesses in Porter County. They have been very gracious about allowing us to put the posters up. And I know there's a lot of organizations that come around with information, but it seems like you got a good product to sell, which is honoring veterans in Northwest Indiana. And everybody has been, in the Porter County area, have been very receptive. And that includes all the counties as well.
Right. And we're going to talk about this all hour, but I would like to move on to some other things that the Noontime Kiwanis has done. I mean, this is the largest Kiwanis club in the state of Indiana, am I correct?
That is correct.
And and I know when you and I have talked about things, you've also given some money to the Sheriff's Department for the video, and then also the Caring Place.
Yes.
You guys stepped up for the Caring Place. And do you mind sharing with us some of the other projects that you all are involved in?
Well, let me give a plug for Kiwanis. The Kiwanis clubs, our motto is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. There's nothing special about the members other than the fact they are very compassionate, very caring. They feel they've been blessed and they want to help others. The Kiwanis Club, our state charity for all the Kiwanis clubs in the state of Indiana, is Riley's Children's Hospital. And this year, because of our fundraising efforts, we gave $25,000 to Riley's Children's Hospital. The rest of the money that we raise throughout the year goes to our local charities. And most recently, we just donated $10,000 to the Caring Place in their efforts to rebuild a new women's shelter or individuals who are victims of domestic abuse.
Right, and let's stop and talk about that because that's a key issue, and I'm not sure where they're at. I have not talked to Mary Beth Schultz in about a month. The Caring Place is in a unique situation for those of you who are out there and wondering. There are only domestic violence shelter in Porter County, and they have a problem right now. They're in a house that is 100 years old and is undergoing electrical problems and plumbing problems, and they only have 27 beds. And this is the second largest problem that we have in Porter County. And really, we have to have some forethought in what we're going to do. Do you know where they're at right now as far as what money they've received and what they need so far?
All I can share with you was the last presentation they made to our Kiwanis board. They were somewhere out of the $2.6 or $2.8 million they needed to raise. They were at about a 1.2, 1.4, somewhere in that range. It might be a little bit more than that. I know to obtain some matching grant money, I guess December 1st seemed to be a key date for them.
Right, because they need to have shovels in the ground
that is correct,
by a certain
yes.
time in order to, and again, this is problematic for our community because unfortunately, it is a huge problem. I mean, we have people that are being abused psychologically and physically, that they need to be protected. And this is one organization that provides an immense amount of resources for those people. Not only provide a safe place for them and their families to family members to stay, but provide some counseling services as well, and try to help them get out of this unfortunate incident that they were in. So that's something we hope that they will make that mark, and I'm hoping that, we were involved in a couple of projects, and I think I told you I want to do something, and if it was just organizing an event, I would do it, but we were involved with the walk, and we had to get that done. So we may come back and help out with that what way we can.
I can add to that. As a professor at a local community college, Ivy Tech, every semester I will run into an average of about 4 students who will share with me in confidence that they're either in an abusive relationship or trying to get out of one. And that's just one class, or 3 classes, I should say, that I teach. And I have some information that I share with them that I get through the Caring Place so that they can make contact if they need to do so. And then the Caring Place obviously has their connections locally that can get them some legal assistance and so forth. But I mean, that's just me teaching as a professor. And I guess if you would interview and talk with many other professors who get to know their students very well, they'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah. It's a problem in the community. It's sad problem. Just don't understand it. And I think that, in fact, the show that was on before us, Democracy Now!, just spoke to that, because I guess this is National Domestic Violence Week or something of that nature.
I'm not sure on that.
But there's some social media things going on, and also we have people just making poor choices out there that are in key positions that I just still don't understand. But nonetheless, the news has been full of that lately, and it's just something that I just can't wrap my mind around. But it's a problem in the community. So, and now you also have a ramp program.
Yes. Besides donating to those organizations, Riley's and the Caring Place, we donate to the Boys and Girls Club and many, many other nonprofit agencies in the county to assist them with their needs. One of the things that we discovered, and we have a wonderful gentleman, in fact, he was our Kiwanis of the Year this year for his volunteerism, Bob Westfall, and he has developed what we call the RAMP Committee. And we found out through our contacts through him is that you will have a variety of aid to purchase a wheelchair. There's a lot of aid to maybe assist you with modification of vehicles, that type of thing. But there was no insurance or any other way to get a ramp installed in your home so you can get that wheelchair in and out of your home. And what the Kiwanis did, along with some grant money that we got, is we have somewhere around 25 to 30 adjustable ramps that can be tailor-made for just about any house. And we have a team that volunteers their time, and we can go in and install that ramp. We get the email and say, show up at such and such a place at such and such a time, and we will install that ramp in usually about 2-3 hours. And let me point this out, they get to keep that ramp free of charge until they no longer need it. Now, you stop and think that I kind of looked this up on the internet. The average ramp that we install would cost the homeowner or the individual somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000. It's made of aluminum. It's not going to rust. And again, it's adjustable for no matter how many stairs you would have on the outside. Get it right from your driveway, right, so you can go in and make a nice turn and get right into your home.
Okay. Lenny, at this point, we're going to have to take a station break, and then we'll come back. During our station break, we've added in some music that that is a tribute to our veterans. So we have the U.S. Naval Band playing Stars and Stripes and Taps. And let me see, what else did we have put down for them? No, that's it. So enjoy the music after the station break, and we'll be back with you shortly. You are listening to The Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic One Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or a loved one are struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, please call us at 866-535-4673. Rebroadcast this show will be every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on WVLP LP. You are listening to The Bill Moran Show on WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic One Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or Okay, we're back, and that was, first of all, the Stars and Stripes, again by the U.S. Naval Band, God Bless America, again by the U.S. Naval Band, and finally Taps by the same band. So that's a very minor tribute for these folks that have done so much for us. Now we move on, talk about veterans benefits, something that has been a bit controversial because the VA has gone through a lot of dynamic changes, and I have to think back to the 2014 act that came out. That one of the biggest problems I guess veterans had were trying to get into the facilities that did exist, and so they created this act of 2014 that allowed them to get vouchers if they couldn't get into a facility. So there's that, and there's some other programs. You mentioned me that there is something that a person can have putting on the back of their license, a V or AM.
That is correct. As long as I've been a veteran, and how many new licenses I have obtained, nobody has really asked me at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles if I'm a veteran, and if I was, could I bring my DD Form 214 in so they have documentation that I am a veteran, at which time they put a V on the back of your driver's license. Then when you go to various businesses in the area who truly honor veterans and say, we can give you a discount, do you have a form of an ID? Well, that had been asked of me before, but for those of us in the Vietnam era, we had to turn in our IDs. We couldn't keep them. Now, some of the World War II and Korea guys, they were able to keep their IDs. And I said, people just don't go around usually with their DD Form 214 in their back pocket. So I was at a local business here in Valparaiso, and a very young lady at the cash register, I had one of my sweatshirts on that said U.S. Army, and she says, are you a veteran? And I said, yes, ma'am. She says, well, do you have an ID? We can give you a 10% discount. And I said, I don't have an ID. She says, I said, I don't know how to prove it other than my DD Form 214, and we don't carry those around with us. She says, if you take it into the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and give that DD Form 214 to them, they will scan it in. They will give you a new license that says V on the back, and that is an authorization through our Indiana state government that you are a veteran. And believe it or not, it works. The other one, a designation that you can have on the back of your driver's license is AM. And the AM basically means you're active military, which means you're still serving. You might be in civilian clothes, but you are active military and you can get discounts in that manner. And I was stunned when I found out about it. And needless to say, it didn't take me long to get the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to get my new driver's license.
Yeah, and there's a community of vets in the area, and in fact, there's a couple of resources in Porter County that folks can go to if they want to know more about this. So let's talk about your career in the military. And by the way, talking about identification, and you've been hiding off the camera here. See?
Oh.
So you have to, let me see.
Do I go this way? All right,
yeah.
I guess I go over this way.
Yeah, move over. No, actually, yeah.
Is that all right?
So here, let me change cameras here and so they could see this. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the U.S. Army Special Forces Green Beret.
Okay.
You want to tell us a bit about that?
It's kind of a long story. I was in college, and like so many kids at that age, wasn't quite committed to an academic career. The draft was around, and I saw that I had the potential of being drafted. And so I elected to go for the extra year, because if you're drafted, they assign you as to what you're going to do. And I had an interest in medicine and science, and so I thought that being a medic would be the best way for me to go. So I went to basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky in 1966, and went in just before Christmas. Went down for basic training, and for people that are from Northwest Indiana, they remember the 1967 snowstorm that paralyzed. Well, in Kentucky, I don't think they have trucks with blades on them, because they hardly ever have snow down there. We were paralyzed at Fort Knox, Kentucky for about 2 days, maybe 3. They couldn't even get the cooks in, so we went 24 hours with basically a drinking fountain, and that was it. After the 12 weeks of basic training, then went on to advanced individual training for being a medic down to Fort Sam Houston, Texas. And this is where all of the people, whether you're a physician that's in military, nurse, or just someone going into the medical corps, everybody is trained in the Army at Fort Sam Houston, Texas. Outstanding training. And when I was down there, they herded about 500 of us into this large auditorium. And on the stage was a Green Beret in his dress uniform, very impressive, and he was no nonsense. I guess that's what attracted me to him. He was telling it like it was. He was just saying, hey, we're losing too many of our Special Forces medics. All of you are here to be trained as medics, and therefore we're recruiting. And they had very strict guidelines. You had to have pretty much a clean background check. You had to be able to pass an academic test. You had to be willing to jump out of airplanes, and that was one thing I was looking forward to do, as crazy as it sounds. By the time he was done with his presentation, and out of that 500 people, 35 of us went to the back of the room to investigate what else do we have to do. And he said, well, you got the physical fitness test. Well, I was in excellent shape when I went into basic training, excellent shape. But basic training is designed to get people that are out of shape into shape. So it was a breeze for me. Now, you go into Special Forces and Green Beret, physical training, that's a whole different animal. And they push you to the point where you don't think you're going to make it. But out of the 35 people who went to the back of the auditorium, only 5 of us made it through the Green Beret training. And it's very grueling, and the washout rate is very high. But I owe a lot to the military, not only because it gave me maturity and self-discipline, but it also gave me focus. And it also gave me the GI Bill, which allowed me to come back and earn my undergraduate, my graduate, and my PA work. And so that's an additional 5 years of schooling. So out of the 7 years of schooling, the GI Bill paid for about 5 more years out of those 7. So when I graduated, the medical training is extremely long, and they pretty much trained you strictly with physicians, and it's intense. And you go to school about 8-9 hours a day, including Saturdays. And they were trying to compress as much training as they could, because they didn't have long for you to be in their facility, because they're getting ready to ship you out to Vietnam. Fort Bragg, North Carolina is where I completed my training. And so I wound up being a trainer for other medics when I became the senior medics. Truly enjoyed it. That was kind of like my first exposure to teaching. And then I was just waiting on my orders to go to Vietnam. I was hanging around and just waiting. My orders came, I believe it was November of 1968. And it says you are to report to the Republic of Vietnam in January of 1969. There was only one problem. Because I went into the military in December of 66, I was scheduled to be discharged in December of 69. So I had less than 12 months. And unlike today, where they can have extended deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan and Africa and a few other places, you don't have any choice on that. Back then, when you went in and you had less than 365 days, they would call you in, say, we put a lot of money into you, and we'd like for you to re-up for 3 more months. And by that time, I'd seen how the war was going, and I decided to go back to college instead.
Yeah, because that was after Johnson took over and he was trying to step up the game in Vietnam.
Yes. And then President Nixon came in and started doing additional bombing and so forth. I've always said personally, and I think some of the veterans who served during this time, I have always felt that 1970 to 1975 were some of the toughest years for veterans to be serving because we were de-escalating our manpower. The backup systems were not there like they once were. There was disillusionment amongst the GIs and the veterans over there. The command and control structure was starting to diminish. And in fact, Ken Burns on his Vietnam series touched on that very, very well, I thought. And I've watched that entire 18-hour series, the 10 episodes, and there might be some minor inaccuracies, but he did an awesome job. And I guess I've always thought I'd like to see what's on the editing room floor, so to speak, that never made it to viewing, because I'm sure there's so much more material that if he'd have put it all out there, he'd have had 50 episodes and probably maybe about 50, 75 hours.
Right, and I have not watched all of it, but I've gotten some links that now I guess you can go to PBS and watch the entire episode.
Yes.
So that's good to know, because I was only able to watch 2 or 3 episodes, but it was amazing to see some of the behind-the-scenes struggle within the administration about that war.
Yes.
And, and again, we had troops already out in the theater, and there was debates about how things should be being done within the room, and it just was heartbreaking. And the other thing heartbreaking about the Vietnam War, then I was lucky because they stopped the draft right before I became of age. So, but the thing I remembered is just because of the political environment we were in, everyone was against the war, the war. But here we had guys sent over there. A lot of them didn't have a choice. Some had a choice. They had decided up, and the way they were treated when they came back was just horrible. Yeah, and I understand it was protest and with the Vietnam War, but those poor guys just didn't have a choice.
I know it's interesting, my Green Beret roommate, who I'm 5'6", he's 6'4", so we made quite a pair. He came to my wedding in 1973. We lost contact. And then on a whim, I thought I'd look him up on social media, and I found him. And he had graduated from Southern Illinois University, and I saw on his page he was a Green Beret medic. So I sent him a note, and he called me in 5 minutes. And it had been 40 years since we'd seen each other. And we talked about, he went over for 3 months, and a grenade hit him, and he got the Purple Heart, and he came back home. Thank goodness he wasn't seriously wounded. We were able to get together here this past summer when my niece's wedding was out in Oregon. And our wives, they were sitting there at the kitchen table just listening to us talk, and they had never heard these stories, and they've been married to us. And it's just, they found it very fascinating and interesting that all this was going on behind the scenes, but he and I wouldn't talk about it to our spouses because we just didn't figure they would understand. I have several of my close friends that are on that Vietnam Wall. Howard Hill was a medic who I was in school with. I had one of my high school classmates who was killed by friendly fire when an artillery shell came up short. And that hit our community hard because we're a small town newspaper in Logansport. Her engagement came out in the Sunday paper with a big spread. He happened to be killed Saturday night, and in a hometown newspaper, it came out front page news that he had lost his life, and it hit our community very hard. We have another high school classmate who we are still trying to get on the Vietnam Wall because there's very strict criteria on how somebody gets put on that wall, but they're starting to loosen it up. One of my high school classmates, in fact, I probably was the last person to see him from a classmate standpoint. It was Thanksgiving weekend. I was back to college. I was home visiting my parents. Saw him walking along the street, picked him up, and I said, "Hey, Mick, what are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm walking down to my parents' house." Bottom line is, gave him the ride. He says, "I'm going to Vietnam," and he was the only child of these parents. And I said, from what I understand, you don't have to go to a combat zone. You can go someplace else. And he actually had gone to the Philippines. He was a cryptologist. He had a 4-year degree from IU. And essentially, somebody was sick. He got on a plane with 8 other people, and he spoke Russian because I believe he had minored in Russian. And the plane was taken off from the Philippines and went down over the South China Sea. There was never any plane found, no bodies, oil slick, a couple of pieces of debris. And because he was not killed in enemy action, they were going to fly to Saigon and then move on from Saigon. But because he was not killed in enemy action or declared missing in action, he did not qualify, nor did the colleagues on that plane qualify for the Vietnam Wall. Now, if you go on the cryptologist memorial wall in Maryland, he's on that one, and so are the other gentlemen. But working very hard to try to get his name on that wall. And the Department of the Navy has contacted the principal of the high school and indicated they wanted some contact information because his parents have passed on. We did honor him and the other high school classmate with a beautifully framed picture in honor of those 2 gentlemen from the class of 1964. And it was a very sad time in our small community, as it was for anybody else's community that lost individuals. And, you just, how can I say, your heart went out to those parents. They were outstanding individuals. And they showed me his report, just out of the movies. Chaplain and 2 military dress individuals come up, and they pretty much knew what had happened. They announced that he was missing and presumed dead. And we went over to visit them after the class reunion, a couple of us, and they gave us the information on him. And all it said was a very short paragraph. Plane took off at 0600 hours and lost off the radar at about 6:30 hours, and that was it. And because it was classified as a top secret mission, nothing else has been released to our knowledge.
That's
So,
a shame.
and then one more is my sergeant major for my 3rd Special Forces Group. He had served in Korea, had earned the Combat Infantry Badge. He was a sergeant major, highest enlisted rank you can get. And we had a little going away party for him. Outstanding person. 90 days later, his chopper was blown out of the air, and we're going to his memorial service. So whenever I go to the Vietnam Wall, I make sure that I go to those panels. And it was very special when they had the traveling Vietnam Wall come over to Purdue Northwest and Westville. And I certainly paid my respects there.
And there's some other monuments in the area if you can't make it to, but I tell you, that was one surreal moment going to D.C. and seeing that black granite. You just can't even talk. You stand there and look at the magnitude, the number of names that are on that wall.
It's a very emotional moment. I know I've been there about 3 times, and each time it's just as emotional. And you stop and think of all those people that just touch the wall and touch a name, or just stare at the wall, or kneel in prayer. You know where their thoughts are at. They're with that person who lost their life.
There's another monument in the area at Stony Run Park that's Veterans Memorial, Vietnam Veterans Memorial, I think. And just going in there, and that's beautifully kept. And the veterans group that's in charge of that, plus the staff at Stony Run, does an excellent job. Beautiful flowers, Floya, and just a great job. But just to look at that small one in comparison, just puts a lump in your throat. Just the sacrifice.
Very much so. And when you talk about sacrifice, one of the things that I bring up all the time, we talk about the veterans, and obviously their sacrifice is huge. But I always think about the spouses who are left behind for long periods of deployment. and particularly in special forces. If you're in special operations with either the Army Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and some of the other special op groups, you can't tell your spouse what you're doing and where you're going. You get a phone call if you're living off base or if you're living on base, and you're gone. And you're gone for however long, and the spouses have no clue where you're at and what's going on. In fact, I was attached to the 3rd Special Forces Group, and 4 of those Special Forces groups, which is my old group, were killed in an ambush in Niger, Africa last week. And so special ops are not just in Afghanistan and Iraq, they're all over the world. They just don't make the news. Yeah. And I really admire and respect and have strong feelings for those that are left behind. Could be husbands, could be wives, have to raise the kids, have to work, and still pay all the bills. And yet you don't have a spouse that's there to help you out because of their commitment to the United States military and our freedom.
Well, thank you for sharing those stories with us. And we're almost out of time, but while we have some time, I want to find out a little bit more about you.
Well,
and particularly, one of the things, I know of one other person that is probably just as active as you, and I've had her on the show as well, and that's Lori Wysick. I mean, it seems like you two.
Lori, yes. Lori Wysick, who basically was the first women's basketball coach at Valparaiso High School. Mm-hmm. And she is very involved with Special Olympics. She's a member of our Kiwanis organization, a lovely lady. And I tell you, I hope I am as that active, when I reach that period of my life.
Well, with the trajectory that you are have right now, I don't doubt if you. But yeah, the two of you together, if we can just bottle that power, and
she's just an awesome person.
Oh, she is.
I love her. I love her dearly.
Heart is as huge as they come.
Yes.
And the things that she's done for those kids over the years, and it's just 40, 50 years of working as special ed, and then also just and just to go to one of those events, it just and the things that she instills with sportsmanship is just phenomenal. That I think we need to replicate and share within our community because it's just amazing. But another amazing lady, like I said, if we can bottle your two energies, I think we would not have an energy crisis. We could do away with solar and just amazing. So what are your plans? I mean, I always see you working. I don't ever see you taking a vacation or talking about a vacation.
It's interesting. Now, my wife would disagree with me, but my enjoyment life is just doing things for other people. Mm-hmm. My wife and I have gone on a cruise. We've done some of the typical stuff, but it is my joy comes from making other people's lives better. And I think that's why I enjoy teaching so much. First of all, I enjoy the small classrooms at Ivy Tech. I can have no class larger than 24. I really get to know my students very well. They have become very friends, and having a guy in his 70s who's making friends with people in their 20s and 30s and 40s is just amazing. And I just feel very blessed that I have, a reasonable brain and a reasonable body, and still can be productive in life. And so that's my joy. Now, if you ask my wife about this, she says that's his view of a vacation. That's not my view of a vacation. Although I think it'll change. My wife, my lovely wife of 44 years, Sandy, spent 30 years in education, 24 of those years at Portage High School. So a lot of her former students are my students or have been my students at Ivy Tech, which is fun. And but she retired July 1st after 30 years in the field of education. And she's just taking it easy for now. And I'm not pushing her for anything. And she'll let me know when she's bored and is ready to do something.
How are your daughters doing?
They're doing very well. Thanks for asking. We're very proud of both our daughters. Both Valparaiso High School grads. They were prepared very well for college. They both went to IU. And one was in sports marketing with a business minor. The other was in telecommunications with a business minor. I kind of required that business minor if I was going to pick up the tab, so to speak, is because I was the first one in my family to go to college. And I love science. But as I got out of college and in a profession, I didn't realize just how much business stuff you really had to know. So I have, on scholarship committees, when I talk to students, they tell me what their major is. And I say to them, have you selected a minor? And if they didn't tell me already that they're going to have a business major, I said, think about getting a minor in business. Because everybody recognizes that when you have it on your resume and you're going for a job interview for employment.
Yeah. With that, we ran out of time. Sorry.
Amazing.
It is, but it seems like there could be another hour of information that you could share with us. I know one idea. I would love to have you and Lori on the show at the same time. It would probably take out the transmitter, but it's worth a try.
You would need a 5-hour show for that.
It's worth it. I'll talk to the station, but I think it'd be worth it. Just the amazing commitment that both you have to our community. It's every time I turn around, and it's not that you go out looking for that. It's just every time I turn around, you are doing something in the community. And and I tell people my dad was that way, and I just try to put myself against my dad. He was extremely committed to community, and it's a blessing. We're blessed to have you here. I really mean that. Everything that
I
I've been
love
involved with you.
Valparaiso, particularly since I came here February 1st, 1977. I didn't know anybody. And this is now home to me. It's been 40 years that I've been in Porter County.
Wow.
Before we cut off, I just wanted to bring this up, and you can show
yes,
this to
please.
your viewers.
Yeah.
This is a booklet that was sponsored by the
You hold
tobacco.
up to that camera
Oh, sure.
over there.
This camera right here. This
That
one over here.
there.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And this is a booklet that was sponsored and produced by the Pines Village, the Tobacco Prevention and Education Coalition, and also the Memorial Opera House. And I just found these, and we are distributing these to all of our student veterans. And in here, there's all this contact information, because people have to go through various resources to find this information. It's all in this booklet right here. Whether it's legal help, medical help, whatever help you may need, you have a contact in here. And it covers Stark, LaPorte, Porter, and some of Lake County as well.
Awesome. So they could contact you if they want.
They can contact me. Also, I got my copy from the United Way of Porter County, and found a way of getting some cases to distribute to our student veterans.
Awesome. Len, I just want to thank you for your service to the community. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you and the rest of the Quanians and Rotarians who put together this awesome dinner. And oh, by the way, we're running over, but the ladies that do the show after me are used to me running in their time, and I'll hear about it at the steering committee tomorrow, I'm sure. But we do have a person that says they want to buy a table of 10 to donate a table of 10 to veterans that are out there. So that's awesome.
And whoever sent that to you, would you please extend our gratitude?
Yeah.
I will make sure that those 10 tickets and that special table will be going to some very deserving veterans.
Yep. So thank you out there. This is absolutely great, and we'll coordinate that with you and try to work that out in details. Again, thank you, Lenny. Thank you for your service, and we do have to move on. Next week, I have another. This is going to be like 2 weeks of awesomeness for me. I'm serious. Sandy Goldberg. Do you remember Sandy Goldberg?
Yes.
Yes. You're welcome to come in the studio. She's actually going to be here.
Okay.
I know. It's amazing. Big stars I bring in here. So Sandy Goldberg, many of you know her from her shows that she used to do on NBC and now with WGN, was known for her nutrition, knowledge about nutrition, but she also has recently, because of her own bout with cancer, has founded a organization called a Silver Lining Foundation. What this foundation does is coordinate with many hospitals in the area, mostly Chicago, but they're hoping to find some in Northwest Indiana, to provide mammogram free of charge for those who are underinsured or no insured. And again, this is all promoting women's breast health. And so absolutely amazing person, and another person I've got to say is just bundled with energy, and I hope when I get her age that I'm half of energetic as she is. So please tune in next week. And again, we wish you all a safe rest of the week and weekend. This is Bill Moran with The Bill Moran Show saying goodbye. On WVLP LP 103.1 FM and streaming live at WVLP.org or on your TuneIn app. We are broadcasting live from the historic One Center Street building in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. The Bill Moran Show is underwritten by Recovery Works of Maryville, Indiana. If you or a loved one are struggling with a drug or alcohol problem, please call us at 866-535-4673. Rebroadcast this show will be every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on WVLP LP.